let's talk about these Specialized Roost 2FO shoes. So I've had the 2FO shoe out for a little while, and they weren't really that grippy. So they never really broke into the actual flat pedal market, you know, unless you were a specialized kind of a specialized rider or an ambassador or someone who just really likes the specialized gear. You weren't really leaning towards the 2FO shoes. They weren't grippy enough. The new one, this is it. $200 Australian. So, you know, full price, cost me $200 out of my pocket. There's no secret discounts here or anything like that. Word is the grip's killer. Everybody's saying the grip's killer. The Vital MTB review says the grip's killer. They're getting big raps around them. Now I've ridden these on every trail ride I've done since I got them, so I've had them for a week and a bit, and I've just been smashing on them. So, first thing, the first endeavour on these was the race at Eagle on the Hill last week. So, Gravity Enduro race. I didn't race, but I went out and filmed it and used these to climb around in. Now, these versus almost any other shoe, apart from your 510 Impact and your standard 510 Freerider, this is as good as it gets for climbing around and walking up trails. It's literally the difference between a two-wheel drive and a four-wheel drive. The grip is phenomenal on rocks, it's phenomenal on loose stuff, it's phenomenal everywhere. So walking around, climbing, excellent. Get on the bike, excellent. The grip, the lock into the pins is phenomenal, but they're a little bit narrow. So if I put it up to shoe for shoe, up against the 510, there's only probably 10 mil difference in the sole, but it's definitely noticeable on the pedal. So this, you're either touching the outside run of pins on your pedal and the inside run of pins aren't touching at all, or you're touching the inside run of pins, depending on how close you sit to you like to stand to your crank, and your outside pins will be not touching. So, too narrow. It's the only thing I don't like about it, well, it's not the only thing. They're too narrow for a bigger pedal. To give you some context, I run the Sandhill Nuke Proof Horizon, not the new Enduro, but just the standard Nuke Proof Horizon, which are more or less the same width and whatnot. And I'm either on the outside pins or I'm on the inside pins. Now, the plus side of that is because these are so grippy, I need to be on one pin and I'm anchored in there. As long as these have got one or two pins to hold on to, they're anchored on there. So all my rides have been dry up until today. Today I rode in the wet, and I really noticed the lack of spread on the pedal. So because it was wet and it was a little bit muddy and slippery, moving around on the pedal itself, you can feel it's slipperier. It's a little bit slipperier. And then that plays into my next kind of con with these, is there's no damping in the sole. So when you're going through, so the absolute grip is phenomenal. There's no question about it. It's the best grip on the market, along with the 510 Impact, which is better than the 510 Impact Sandhill. I feel like the Sandhill's a little bit harder than this. This I get a bit more compliance and a little bit more grip, but it's trashed. These, there's not a lot of damping, and so as soon as you hit real chundery fast stuff, the feeling of chop tends to just lift you. Instead of the shoe having a little bit of damping, a little bit of vibration damping, all that vibration is going through your foot. So you kind of have to counter that. So there is opportunities there for where the shoe actually comes off the pedal and slips. So it's not a grip factor, it's a compliance factor. So they could definitely make the grip a little thicker. It's quite a thin, narrow sole. They could make it a little thicker, which in turn will allow them to put a little bit more rubber in there and make that entire sole a little more compliant, a little bit more absorbent. And I think that'll be a little bit wider as well. So wider, more absorbent, and a thicker sole would be a home run here. Now, in terms of fit, they're a snug fit. So I've got a relatively narrow foot. Check that out for all you people with the foot fetish. Pretty standard foot. I run a 44 or a 10.5 shoe. These are a 44. They fit perfect. There's room in the toe. My little toe sits here, my big toe sits here, just ever so slightly behind the toe bit. But this toe has no real impact support. There's no real protection. If you smash your foot into something, these aren't going to do nothing for you. If you smash your foot into something with these, no worries. No, and the Sam Hills even more so. The Sam Hills are so protective, but these have no protection. So these are a light shoe. They're very light underhand as well. Little narrow. They actually feel really, really comfortable. Even though they're a narrow fit, they feel really comfortable. So if you're gonna get a pair and you're kind of like a wider fit, just size up one. Just size up one, and you might end up finding that it's just the right fit. Seams water resistant. So it's a suede. I think it's a suede upper. It's all synthetic. There's no animals in this shoe, as far as I know. It's a very tight fit getting it on and off as well. The laces are non-stretch, and you really got to loosen everything up to get your foot in and out. So it's really like a sock fit. It's a real tight fit. But I don't think they breathe that well either, because like I said, they seem water resistant, seem waterproof, but I sweat a lot in them. So my socks are wetter even on the drier rides. My socks are wetter getting out of these than they are generally getting out of these. Not by much, but a little bit. So that's something to think about as well. If you're constantly doing hot, I don't know. I don't even know if that matters, honestly. Wet socks, big deal. They don't seem to be letting water in, which is killer. Comfortable to walk around in all day, like I said. Filming the Eagle race, I was up and down, running down trail, everywhere, and they just felt sublime. So grippy for walking around in. They're perfect dirt jump shoe. They're a perfect shoe if you're dirt jumping or pump tracking or commuting or anything like that. Anything except where you really need that protection. And I'm a guy as you know, I'm a guy for protection. I usually almost always lean protection over comfort. So I ride with the full face full time and things like that, elbow guards. So for me, I want more protection out of this shoe. So hopefully, in the near future, Specialized bring out like a 2FO DH or something like that. A flat pedal shoe specifically designed to send it. Specifically designed to go super hard, a little bit thicker, a little bit wider, and a little bit more damping, so it's a little bit more comfortable on the real chattery stuff, because it's the only place when I'm actually on the pedals riding that I feel that they're just not quite what I want. They're not quite there. They're just a little bit. You feel too much of the trail underneath you through your foot. So definitely plenty stiff. The sole's plenty stiff without being ridiculous. You know, you can still flex around, but pedaling feels killer. Very impressed, but obvious weaknesses. So wider, thicker sole for more damping, and a little bit more protection, and maybe make it a bit more breathable. But honestly, I don't care. I don't care that much about the breathing. I don't notice it when I'm riding. It's only after the ride and I pull the socks off and I'll pull my shoes off and go, oh, pretty sweaty in there. Otherwise, I love them. I think they're killer. So Specialized, well done. Definitely an improvement. Keep improving. Give me more protection. Give me a wider, maybe just a little bit wider fit. You don't want too wide a fit, because then it'll feel sloppy and your foot can kind of roll around within your shoe, and you want a precise shoe. The clip version of these should be killer as well. They've got the 2FO clip version. They should be killer as well. It's made basically the same shoe with a nice, friendly, fairly roomy, like a fair bit of adjustability in the where the clip goes. So yeah, well done, and keep improving.